I'm Lizzie Harrison for Card Player TV, here today with Howard Lederer. How's it going, Howard?
It's going well.
So I know you're a specialist in limit hold'em, but it seems like these days you look shocked.
Yes, I'm not a specialist.
You're not a specialist.
If you ask me what maybe my best game is, I guess I'd agree with you.
Okay, but everybody plays no limit hold'em these days. What happened to limit hold'em?
Well, I think it's alive and well. It's probably bigger than ever.
Really?
But it's certainly overshadowed by no limit hold'em. No limit hold'em is the best tournament game. In fact, if I had a choice of playing in one tournament, it would be No Limit Hold'em. It's a great, great tournament game. It's a great TV tournament game because of the drama, the all-ins, the really tough decisions, the huge bluffs. It's just sexy TV, you know, and so that's what people want to watch on TV, and what they watch on TV is kind of what they want to play. I think what we're seeing, and what we'll continue to see, though, is that people get introduced to the game of poker, which is a whole lot more than just Hold'em.
Right.
Forget about No Limit Hold'em, Limit Hold'em, but all these other games, too. And they get introduced to poker, and then they start, oh, look at that, there's Limit Hold'em. Wait, maybe I try 7-card stud. And I think just over the next 5-10 years, we're going to see a spreading out and actually a resurgence in all these other games. Not necessarily as TV.
Okay, but to be played in casinos.
But just to be played by players in online poker rooms and brick-and-mortar poker rooms at their homes. So it starts with the No Limit Hold'em, and then it spreads out to all these other games.
That makes sense. Yeah. Well, what skills are most important for a limit hold'em player that are maybe different than a no limit hold'em player?
It's kind of interesting. You know, I think you need some patience.
Right.
Strangely, I think you almost need to be tighter in limit hold'em, even though you can't lose your whole stack. I think
you can just drip
kind
and
of
drab it away.
You get kind of slowly punished for bad play. The fact that, you see, when you play the king-queen against the ace-king in no limit, if it comes a king and a queen, you might win a big pot.
Right.
You know? So, yeah, you're taking the worst of it, but when you get there, it's awfully good, right? In limit hold'em, you know, when it comes, you know, let's just say you've got the king-queen against the ace-king, and you know there's going to be a king out there. Well, when it doesn't come a queen, you lose the medium-sized pot, and when it does come a queen, you win a medium-sized pot. So you really get punished. It's just a hand after hand after hand when you're taking the worst of it with the bad kicker. Yeah, you win a few and you lose most, but you don't make up too much with the one you won. So you really have to pay attention to your hand values. I think that's very important. And, you know, you really have to pay attention to your technique. I think it's a very creative game. There's a lot of great things to do, but at the same time, you just need to play solid starting hands and get in your extra bets. Don't miss your bets. Don't try and play too tricky. Just, you know, when you got the best hand, make sure money's going in the pot.
Well, you said it can be a very creative game. How so?
Well, no, I was saying that no limit is.
Oh, okay. I was going to say.
So you really need to make sure that, like, when you have the best hand, you're betting. Look, there are creative things that you can do. You know, some nice, sort of tricky bluffs, some good represents. But I think you have to pick those spots a little different. But no limit is much more. You size up a guy, and can they stand a raise? And if the answer is no, you raise. You know what I mean? Whereas Hold'em, you have to really wait for specific situations, because that one bet isn't going to just make a guy it's not going to chase people away unless it's in the right spot that convinces them that you have the right hand to make them fold.
Is it tougher to put players on hands when you're playing limit games in general?
No, I don't think so. But what's interesting about limit is that you really have to, I think in some ways, pay more attention to sort of the odds and ranges. Okay, so because you're talking about big prices, you know, so if you can give your opponent a range where enough of that range you beat, and you're getting 8-1 at the end, you got to call.
You have to make the call.
No limit's a little different in terms of sometimes you just got to go, am I beat or you know, or not here? And since you're only getting usually around 2-1, you can make those gut reads in no limit, and it's okay to make a big laydown because you weren't getting that big a price. Limit Hold'em, it's much more important to stay level-headed. It's like, oh God, I got raised on the river. But if you can find a range there, enough of a range that
you
gives
can
you a
beat.
call, you know, you just got to stick that one more bet in there.
Well, as a pro, when you sit down to play in a limit hold'em tournament, what types of mistakes do you see amateurs make? What really gives them away?
Look, the two biggest mistakes that amateurs make, particularly in limit hold'em tournaments, they play too many hands. That's a common mistake, really, in any form of poker. They aren't paying attention to their hand values. They're playing, you know, the ace-10 offsuit in first position. You know, when there's almost no chance that ace-10 offsuit can be the best hand. If you think about 9 people, we're like, you've got 9 people
Right,
to act
yeah.
behind you.
Just
Someone's
think
going to have a
about it.
better ace or you know, or a pair. So they're playing too many hands, and they're not getting value out of their hands. You know, they're missing bets. I just see a lot of players so happy. You know, it's been checked to them on the river. They think they have the best hand. They really can't stand a check raise. They just don't want to get check raised emotionally. And they're happy to win the pot.
Right.
So they just turn up their hand,
don't
and,
get the
then the
value.
guy says good, and they're all happy, and they, you know, and I'm thinking, boy,
Over
you know,
and over again, they're missing bets.
one more bet would have been nice. It would have been a bigger pot. And so I just see a lot of that in tournaments, and it's an and that's not a bet that they don't know about either. In a cash game, they bet it. But they're protecting their chips, and they just, you know, it's a tournament. They're a little more emotionally involved, and I just don't see the value betting in tournaments from some of the weaker players that I would expect that they actually make in cash games.
So how do you determine when to make a value bet in a tournament? What factors go into that decision?
It's, you know, look, clearly toward the end of a tournament when your chips are really short, actually limit poker starts to play more like no limit. You're making You're making kind of stack decisions, you know, early
The blinds
in the
are
hand.
up there, absolutely.
Right. But, you know, early in a tournament, middle of a tournament when you got plenty of chips, you're just trying to play good solid cash game poker. But knowing that you're up against people that are probably playing, they're trying to be a little more careful than normal. So you can take advantage of certain situations.
Great. Thank you very much for coming by today, Howard.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Lizzie Harrison with Howard Lederer for Card Player TV.